bar, oops, space bar, command, zoom in. We're going to start with the best of. Now I just did Command T. I hid all my tools by hitting the Tab tool. That's on all my windows. I'm going to hit Tab to hide all that, and then Command T gives me just the text tool. So with the best of highlighted, I'm first going to do, if I click over here, horizontally scale these letters. They want to be a lot fatter than they are. So by clicking, oh, I'm selecting the wrong thing. By clicking the arrow up, it's now 110% wider of a letter. Now I'm looking at first my letter T. So I'm going to move that. I'm going to click on my letter T and make sure the left side of this T is aligned with the other one as I just go as fat and wide as I can. I'm going to horizontally scale. Now, ideally, you're not doing this to your fonts. I'm just doing this because I don't know what this font is, so we're going to try to do our best to make it look like it. Now, I think, it probably could be a little bit fatter. I just don't want my T to get too wide. So I'm going to center that as best as I can. Now, if I hit the letter T on my keyboard, I can click between the T and the H. Now what I want to do is kerning, which is letter spacing. Actually, let's not kern. Let's highlight the whole thing first and do what's called tracking, which is word spacing, which is right here where it says VA, set the tracking for the selected characters. So tracking is to create more space between the letters within one line. So I'm going to arrow up, and that's going to spread out the whole word. Now I'm looking at the H. So maybe my tracking is way too much. Let me go back, because the word best is too much. And I'm going to have to do some kerning, which is highlighting between the T and the H. If I hold the Option and then the arrow on the very bottom right of my keyboard, that will allow me to just add space between individual letters. But I have to, with my arrow or my mouse, select between those letter forms and Option and arrow back. So kerning is what makes the difference. If you are good at kerning, that will make you a better designer. Now I'm just going to scroll over here, Option, arrow over, hold the Option key down, arrow over, and that's good enough. Again, I don't have the right font, so we're just practicing learning how to manipulate these letter fonts. Now this one we made horizontally scaled. This one, we made this one wider. This one we're going to go skinnier, but first I need to make this just a little bit bigger. I do know I have this regular, I think, let me go back. I thought there was a BBAS condensed font, but let me go here. If I type in BEBAS, Nue, see the difference? I think this Nue was a little bit more condensed, so I'm going to go with the Nue one. Okay, so now I want this to be tighter, so I'm going to arrow down, and that's going to make this font skinnier and more condensed. And that actually is pretty good. So I do think I need to move this over just a little bit. And now again, we're going to play with, now that my letter is as skinny as I want it to be, I'm going to play with my first overall tracking, which is the VA here. By going down, I want this to be tighter. Now this area here looks pretty good, so I might have to just do kerning right there. So let me hold the space bar down so I get that little hand and I can drag this over. Hit the T keyboard on the keyboard and select between the E and the C, and then Option, arrow left. Oh, that fixed it beautifully. Let's see, this might be too much. No, perfect. So just by closing up the kerning between the E and the C, fix the entire word. So now I'm going to go and do the same thing with all of these. So if I hit V, will give me my arrow, space bar, and let's do movement. I'll do one more with you, and then I'll show you the next step in a different video because this may take you some time. Okay, so again, we want this to be horizontally scaled, skinnier. Oh, this is regular too. Let's make it Nue. So just here we go. Do that. Look, that fixed it already to making it a more condensed font. So actually, maybe I go a little bit wider. That was good. Let's fix the tracking. I'm going to go in here a little bit. option. So it's a lot of playing around between the horizontally scaling, the tracking, and the letting and the kerning, sorry. Yeah, tracking. Let me see, go back. I keep always getting the tracking is the whole word, kerning is individual letters between each letter. One thing I did not mention, when you get to these words, you type that, you hit R for rotate and return, and you can change it 90 degrees. So keep doing that, 90 degrees. And then I can click that. Now, if I zoom in, I'm going to line up. This P is really in my nerves. Okay. I'm going to make sure that R, that looks pretty good. Now to change this spacing, that is the letting, which is right here. So I'm going to arrow down, and that makes that my letting, my line spacing. Okay, so the last thing, you can go ahead and do all those words. Don't worry about the big letters. We're going to do those last. Another thing, when you get to this point, let me just close some of these windows and just slide things up. So most of you know this already, but for the new guys, if I click and hold on my rectangle tool, go to the ellipse tool, I need to hold down the shift key so that my circle is a circle and not an oval. Go back to my arrow and shift that. I want that to be centered. Now, this here is my fill, right? It says fill, so I don't want that circle to be solid yellow. I'm going to go to none right there, but then I'm going to stroke it. This time I'm going to stroke it with yellow. So notice right now that's a really thin stroke. That's just like adding a yellow line on top of my circle. So to make this wider, let me go to window. It should be under window. Oh, stroke should be already open, so let's find that. Where's my stroke menu? Oh, it's already right here. Okay, so right now my stroke weight is 1 point. I'm going to arrow up. And notice it's adding a stroke weight on the left and the right on both sides. So if that's the case, if I hit S for scale and return, I'm going to scale it down 99%. Make sure it's on uniform and say OK. So that's scaling it down. Command D will duplicate that action. So Command D. So now that line should be a little more centered. So now when I make my stroke weight a little heavier, it's more centered. Okay. So obviously I'm going to want to make this red, but for now I'll keep it yellow. And then I'm going to click the arrow and just click anywhere so I can deselect that circle. Now I'm going to go over to the left. I can hit P, which is also the pen tool. So now I'm just going to click and let go of the mouse, and then click and let go of the mouse, and then go back to my arrow so that I just have that line. Now I can click on the I for eyedrop tool, which is also over here. And if I select that, it will add the same stroke weight and same stroke color. Pretty magic. This word here, Helvetica, is the only font that's not the other two we're using. So I'm going to type Helvetica and make that Helvetica. So I think, why did that go lowercase? Anyway, it might be light. Let's go back. I'm going to go to, I don't know, I thought I typed that capital. I'll go back to change case and uppercase. That was very strange. Okay, so Helvetica. And again, I'm going to have to make this a condensed font, but this is basically going to be scaled. Let me change the color so I can see it better. So that's the only font that is Helvetica. Everything else is Bebas or the other one. And let's see. Okay, so I'll play with that. So I just wanted to show you how to do the circle, the line, the Helvetica, the rotated. You can also go ahead, while we're at it, to do these lines. So with the pen tool, I'm going to just click and let go of the mouse. Now if I hold the shift key, that's going to make it, see if I move this up here, if I hold the shift key down, it's going to make it perfectly horizontal. So then I just click, and right now I'm going to go over to my arrow, and I'm going to hit I for eyedrop. That is way too heavy and obviously the wrong color. But for now, let's make this, where's my stroke palette? Here it is. I'm going to make this, let's see. That looks like about 6 points. So I'm going to go back to my solid arrow so I can move it. Oops. Now that, notice how that went up on only one side because I only had that point. So I'll Command Z, go back to the arrow, deselect, click on that, and arrow up one. If I'm really particular, I can zoom in some and just do that. Okay, so when I go ahead and do all my others, I would make them the same weight. So P, pen tool, click, hold the shift key, click, I for the eyedrop. Actually, I don't even need to do the eyedrop tool because it's already keeping the same attributes. Weight and all that is the last one. So go ahead and do all that.